Hi there. If this is your first time listening, I am Calvin Trieu. I'm the host of this podcast. I am a doctoral student, and I'm also a performance and nutrition coach. If you have already been listening for a while now, my name is Calvin. No, hold on. I don't gotta say that. You already know me. Hello. I'm so sorry. I've been working for like 7 hours already, and it's only 1 o'clock. I had a huge paper grant proposal assignment that I had to write today. That was a hypothetical one for a class. Never wrote one before. Did it today. That was fun. 6 pages down and other assignments. So I am on my last drop, but we are doing this anyways because we show up and do the things no matter how we feel, circumstances, all the things. We just show up. So the topic of this idea for today's episode is almost like a repeat or like a reboot. I think that's a better word for it. It's like a reboot of an episode I did around this time last year. Actually, I can see it right here. August 5th, 2024, episode 99, How to Do the Bare Minimum with Exercise and Nutrition and Still Get Results. That's essentially what today's episode is going to be about, but a little bit more of a refresher. And I got a piece of paper and a pencil. It's like a very small pencil, because they have very small, cute pencils here with paper at this co-working space that I am hosting this podcast out of the room. It's called Switch Yards. So if you have one of these inside your city, they're super dope. I love this. It really helps to have this because I only pay like $100 a month to come here, and I get super focused and like a lot done. And you can tell by the background aesthetics, it's really cool. And I can film here, and I can rent out these rooms where it doesn't really cost money. It's just first come, first serve. Instead of having to build out the whole thing at home, plus I only have a 1 bedroom, and filming at home, it's always really tough because I have my dog. She's a pit bull, and people walk by in the background, not in my apartment room, but in the hallway. She barks, messes with my head, hard for me to focus. So this is pretty dope. Anyways, back to the episode today. I want to do a reboot of this episode, go through more so fresh ideas again on what you basically can do when it comes to how to start moving the needle from level 1. Like, what are the bare minimum type of things that you can do? And I'm using the word bare minimum almost as like a hook here because I don't really like the word minimum, but there's a floor. There's a ceiling and there's a floor to things. And so this is where I would challenge you to change your verbiage of what is the daily floor things that you can do, no matter who you are and the circumstances of your life and the amount of responsibilities and commitments that you have. What is the absolute minimum essential floor can you maintain? What is that standard for yourself? And if you do not know what your standards are, you may know what your standards are when it comes to other area of what you accept or allow or reject when it comes to certain relationships with people. Definitely in the more romantic realm, or relationships with others, or your non-negotiables and your things that you want from your home, things that you require from other people. It's the same thing for this. Establish some type of ceiling and floor and standard that you were going to upheld no matter the situation or circumstances. For example, we are in the last quarter of the year. The holiday seasons are here. And this is I mean this with all the best in the world. I hate when people say that, oh, this year's busy, things got out of my hand, it kind of just caught up to me, I am not disciplined, or I couldn't keep my habits or routine, or any of those type of things. And the thing that I have to say back to you, I would challenge you with is, you know that this time of year is coming. Every single year you know the holiday seasons are here. And I'm pretty sure you have the same script playing every single year. Roughly 90% of it is probably the same thing every single holiday season. You know, one Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween. If you have a family, you know that kids go back to school. You know when kids breaks are, holiday breaks, everything with work. You essentially know what is happening every quarter and every year when it comes to the big national things. And then there's the 10-20% of, well, things happen here and there. But essentially, this is time of year where people just say a bunch of stuff saying, oh, I can't keep up with my habits or behaviors because the world's busy and I'm busy, and I'll get back to it or get back on the wagon when I'm less busy. But the thing is, you will fill that space with other BS. You don't just find time to do things, you make the time to do things. You can have and be anything you want to be in this world, but you can't have it all at the same time. So you have to prioritize. You have to choose what you are going to pour into and what is going to take the back seat, what you're going to get better at and what you are going to suck. What hats are you going to wear and lean more into, and what hats are just going to be, well, that's a crapshoot. Because you can only do so much. And so you got to be radically honest with yourself of what is possible for you in this current situation or context or season or chapter that you are in. And so with that, establish some type of baseline for yourself, and don't be so rigid with it, but be very adaptable and flexible and durable with it. And so the first thing that I'm going to bring up here is walking. That's one thing, if you're an able-bodied person, which I am assuming who's watching this right now, is the one thing you can do is pay attention to the amount of steps you take. That is the simplest thing that you can do right here. The guidelines for physical activity that the ACSM, American College of Sports Medicine, has put out, and other countries basically too, is 150 of moderate activity and 75 minutes of moderate to vigorous activity, something along the lines of that. So essentially, they are just looking for people to walk for about 150 minutes a week. You can look at it through that lens. That is not a lot. That is, I have words against that, but that is, and most people don't even meet those guidelines. Most people walk around 2,000 to 3,000 steps a day. That's pretty average. And I will plant a flag on that, because after working with so many people, especially clinically in a hospital for 3 years with bariatric patients of people in middle of America, typically people walk around 2,000 to 3,000 steps a day. That's pretty average. And from the research, you don't have to get 10,000 steps. 10,000 steps was actually like a marketing thing that was done out of Japan as part of like a movement initiative campaign type thing, and 10,000 steps just sound really well, so it kind of stuck, and it's a lot, and things along those lines. But from the research, if you can get up to like 7,000 to 8,000 steps, that's your chance of dying early or all-cause mortality goes down dramatically. Even you taking the leap from 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and et cetera, is huge, like huge, from all different components of health, from metabolic, from cardiovascular, from functionality, cardiorespiratory fitness, through psychological, take a pick. All of it improves significantly if you just walk more. And this is something that you can improve on. And so this is where I would say, if you don't know where your steps are, do you have to wear a wearable? You don't have to, but it's super helpful to have some type of feedback to give you a awareness of where your steps are at, if you need it. If you don't need it, then you don't need it. Just go walk more. But how can you go walk more? You know your schedule better than I do. So ask yourself the question, what would this look like if I walked more? What would this look like if this was more attractive to me? What would this look like if this was more fun for me to do? And then answer that question, and that reveals to you what you need to do. So if you are a morning person, maybe your steps are going to be in the morning. Maybe if you have time in the evening, maybe it's in the evening. Maybe instead of after having dinner by yourself, with your partner, with your family, instead of pulling up a screen to look at, a tablet, a phone, or a TV, everybody gets up and go outside for a 10-minute walk, 20-minute walk. It can be an amazing ritual that people do with their families. So however way you need to get more steps in, do it. That could be your bare minimum that you do, no matter what season or chapter you are in, to make sure that you are at least improving your health, not letting it decline, or just maintaining your health. And then you can start to stack on and add layers from there. Because steps is the easiest thing, the most low barrier thing that you can do anytime, anywhere. There's no skill, there's no nothing. And I'm not gonna say it's the quote unquote best thing to do in the whole world for XYZ. I'm not gonna say that, but it gives you a fighting chance. It gives you something to make sure that you are maintaining that momentum. That's a really big thing. People feel like they fall off the wheel. But if you change the lens and then look at your standards and look at your situation, maybe you go from a season, during the summer season, for example. Let's say during the summer season, you worked out a lot, you walked, you did a whole bunch of stuff, and then the holiday season comes, we're in Q3, Q4, and things get super busy. And now maybe you can't train 3 to 4 times a week or go run 2 to 3 times a week like you used to, and things are happening. A family member gets sick. You just get crashed with workload. You're going back to school, kids, the whole thing. What's the bare minimum thing that you can do in that new season or chapter you're in? Maybe it's pulling back on the volume and frequency of how much training you were doing, both either lifting or endurance, and maybe it comes back to, we are going to walk. We are going to make sure that we walk maybe 5,000, 7,000 steps a day, or maybe by the end of the week, we try to get an average of 5, of 7, of something. Maybe because you know that Monday through Friday are just so busy for you, but Saturday and Sunday is where you can quote unquote catch up. Then maybe those are the days where you gain a lot more traction back and get more steps in. You can slice this so many different ways. And so gamify it however way you need to. Front load your steps in the day, back load it, microdose it, front load it in the month, back load it in the month, microdose. However way you want to slice it, that could be the one lever that you pull as a non-negotiable for yourself. And you have the autonomy to adjust it from, maybe it's 7,000 for this month because it's realistic. And then what if you enter a week where you're about to travel for work? Maybe that gets dialed back and you lean on something else, or you keep it at a different number. So then you at least come to like you set the terms for yourself. And so the bare minimum you can do when it comes to the movement category is walking. I will argue that to the end of the earth. And then the next thing that you can do when it comes to the bare minimum is nutrition. Again, something I will argue is I believe everybody should have some type of nutritional literacy. Were we all taught that? No. Can we go back in time and change that? No. Do I have the power to change policies right now? I do not. So I'm going to talk with what I can control and what I can teach you to do something about this right now instead of feeling some type of way, because we will take ownership of where we're at, and because we're responsible for what happens next. So let's do something about this. Nutrition can be very complicated if you make it very complicated, but to make it very lazy and very simple, because you have other things to focus on than just allowing that to take up the bulk of your mental energy, because you have so much more other things that deserve your attention, that needs your attention, that you have to pour into. And so something super simple is eat something that has been grown every day. It can be simple as that. More of your food, the bulk, and I'm not going to go into ultra processed, and demonize and saying things are good or bad. It's way more nuanced than that. But if you need like a lazy perspective lens to go into this, is lean more towards things that have been grown or came from an animal. Have more of that, and then allow the other stuff to come into place. Like, for example, if you are trying to get more vegetables in, but the most cost-effective way for you to do it is to get frozen peas or broccoli or squash or something like that. It's like frozen. That works too. That's fine. And they're like $1 at like Walmart. Get those from the freezer and throw it into go microwave it for like a couple minutes and then throw it into your meal. Easy as that. oh my God, it came from a bag. Don't over stress and over like freak yourself out for no reason there. You can clearly see, okay, the two options are eat no vegetables because it came from a bag, it's not as perfect, blah, 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 or yo, here are some frozen broccoli that I can throw in my meal in like 3 minutes, and it cost me $1 or $2 to buy the bag. Awesome. Let's just move through it. So if you want to get a handle of your nutrition and to make progress to your health, to your body composition, to how you feel, and to how you want to perform each day, lean more towards things that have been grown or came from an animal and allow that to take up the bulk of your diet. And then once you have more space and time and energy to dive more into it and desire to, then you can go into, okay, let's learn about the nutrition label here. Let's look at calories. Let's look at protein. Let's look at fiber. Let's look at all these different components that make up this food and look and start experimenting with the different ratio of stuff, and you can go down the rabbit hole from there. I have a nutrition calculator, super simple, easy to use, on my page. Go check it out. It should be in the description here, free to use, and that can give you direction too if you want to start learning a little bit more. But that would be my one 30-second answer if I was in the elevator with somebody and I had to get a message across is eat more things that have been grown or was produced by an animal, and then don't worry about the rest. But tip the scale a little bit more, and then boom, you're gonna see huge changes right there. Guarantee it. Now, the next lever that you can pull is sleep. I know, these things sound like absolute no-brainers, but just because something is simple, that does not mean people are doing them well, or it's front of mind. It's you're aware of it, or whatever, you know what I'm trying to say here. So sleep. Now, of course, going to sleep, there's three components I think of here is sleep regularity, sleep duration, and sleep quality. And so with that, yes, how long you sleep matters, how well you sleep matter, but the bigger lever that can influence that, if you are able to, I know it's not as easy for everybody, especially if you're a night shift worker. This may be tough for you, is your sleep regularity. Go to bed and wake up roughly, don't have to be dogmatic about it, roughly the same time each day. That is going to build a lot of routine and regularity in your body when it comes to different hormonal and endocrine and a lot of different things that happen. Your normal circadian rhythm, you go into bed, you waking up, your normal cortisol spike in the morning to wake you up, your normal melatonin production in the evening to start winding you down. Your body starts to get into this new rhythm of knowing when to, let's start winding down to go to bed. Let's start revving up to go to get ready for the day. Let's link it up with our digestion. You start having more regular bowel movements because your body is more predictable in that time. You have more regular energy, you feel a little better, and things start getting aligning a little bit better. The more you improve your sleep regularity is what I found out of myself, anecdotally, and through the research and from observing through clients who pull that lever a little bit more. The quality and quantity by default as a byproduct increases the more you focus on regularity. Because by you doing that, you're having to practice forward thinking and backwards planning. And so you're planning, if you want to go to bed by 9, that means you got to start winding down a half hour to an hour before, depending on the person. And that means you probably have to start getting your stuff ready, prepared for tomorrow, which is the next day, so you can start the day off on a good foot to maybe go work out in the evening, to get ready for work, take care of the kids, do all the things. So you start planning back and you become way more intentional and strategic, and things start to fall back into place. Remember, we're trying to find different routes, different areas to pull these levers to build and maintain momentum wherever we can. And so sleep, even if you can't get 7 to 8 or 9 hours sleep a night, maybe it's 5. But try to go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time. You start building that habit, that behavior, that intention, and you start saying no to more things that are distracting you in your time so that you can take care of you, and things just compound and add together and overlap. And it just starts, you just build this type of escape velocity out of the pile of poo that you're in that was self-induced because you're self-sabotaging yourself, and you just launch yourself up. I have found that sleep is huge. It sets you up so well, especially your emotional regulation, your decision-making abilities. Huge. You don't get so mentally dramatic. And of course, the physiological recovery, from your training, the memory consolidation from all the things you learned that day, and you're just firing, you're just sharper. So sleep regularity is huge. That's probably a big thing that I would suggest there. And so within these 3 different buckets, from movement, from nutrition, from lifestyle, going to bed roughly the same time and waking up roughly, say, within an hour. If you're somebody who needs that number, roughly within an hour of that window is fantastic. And with the nutrition portion, eating things, having more bulk of your diet be things that have been grown, that are more nutrient dense, and things from an animal or something. Or if you don't want that, that's fine, that's okay too. But things that are just more nutrient dense is going to serve you better, and then you can get into the nuances and everything else from there, because that's such a foundational component, and finding the food that you like to eat and come back to. And maybe it's going to take time for you to recalibrate your taste buds, your expectation around food, because it's not going to taste so. If you're somebody who eats out a lot, it's the color, the smell, the spices, the taste of it, of everything. Maybe it's going to take you a second to recalibrate yourself to eating something that seems a little more bare bones, and then that's going to be where you have to step in to learn how to cook. Something. It's not bad. And so moving back to the first bucket, which was movement, is walking. And now these are all the bare minimum things that you can do. It doesn't cost you any money or anything too crazy, but it's going to require you to challenge yourself and to continue to believe in your ability to change, to lean into the tension, to believe that it is possible. And if you're going to overthink why this can't work and why you have tried this so many times and why you keep failing, why don't you try overthinking all the reasons why it can work? Because the number one thing I love bringing up, the best mindset and motivational quote I've ever heard is, if a crackhead could find a way to get crack, how are you going to get out hustled by a crackhead? That's probably going to upset some people of how I said that, but I think that's the funniest thing. And it always just be like, Calvin, check yourself. Okay. So there's that. And of course you can add on more layers. And I haven't even talked about going to the gym, getting a gym membership, lifting weights. Oh, buying this, buying that, or buying these supplements. No. These are fundamental things and levers that you can do today that I can guarantee, it sounds so simple, but if you go on a walk every single day and you can just know, if you have a wearable already, if you can go to walk for 7,000 steps every single day, or have an average of that per week, per month, and start shifting your food choices and going to bed roughly the same time each day, not asking you to spend more money. If you do this for a month, 6 months, you are going to be unrecognizable. You are going to feel so good if you just do these few things, because the walking, that's free. Boom. Sleep, free. Boom. Food portion, you already buy the things you buy. lean towards other things. Boom. Promise, things will change. You can add more layers, but I'll save that for a different episode. If you like this, if you have comments or questions, please drop them below. Besides that, ways to work with me. My training program is in the caption, 7 days free trial here. Trying to help people get strong while building endurance, hybrid training programs. Like I said, 7 days free trial in the caption. And yeah, let me know if this episode resonated with you at all. Would love to just hear that. And I'll see you guys next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.